Dulinda Perera stands out as one of the most dynamic young entrepreneurs in the country, achieving 3 A's in the G.C.E. advanced level examination in the maths stream in 2015. Dulinda demonstrated early academic excellence. His leadership skills were evident when he served as the president of the Sinhala Literary Union in 2014 and as the college debating captain in 2011. Dulinda is the founder and chief executive officer of the IKON Group of Companies. He also holds key positions as the executive director of Ceylon Robotics and Technology Corporation and the managing director of Green-Able Technologies. Dulinda shares his entrepreneurial expertise by offering crucial strategies for achieving success in business ventures. His insights into how the skills and lessons learned during his college years have shaped his successful career path are particularly enlightening. Hence, we are honored to introduce our guest for this episode, Dulinda Perera.
It's great to have you here with us, Ed. So, to start things off, how are you? How have things been for you lately?
I've been great. I think we all as Sri Lankans went through a bit of a roller coaster, and I think we're coming out of it right now, hopefully. So things have been good, things have been busy, but busy means good. So yeah, all in all, it's been great.
Can you start by telling us about your journey? How did you get to where you are at right now?
Okay. So the start of my journey as a marketer and a brand strategist was quite accidental, to be quite very frank. So just after college in 2015, as a typical normal Sri Lankan kid, I started off pursuing CIMA as a higher education opportunity until I was basically awaiting university. So a bit of context, I come from a science background. I went to Oratory University. I'm an engineering graduate from Oratory. But while this was on the cards, I basically started off CIMA for no particular reason, like simply just because everyone else was doing it, right? And just over there, very accidentally, new media or digital media, as you know it right now, was not necessarily an industry of its own. It was not necessarily utilized as an industry for communication or branding purposes, right? So very accidentally, we ventured into it. We got a small gig, me and my friend, from the very institute that we were studying CIMA at the time. So they were our first clients. And they basically said, oh, you know what, why don't you do something for us in new media? So we didn't know anything about the technicalities. We didn't know anything about the specifics. We just said, okay, fine, for whatever it is, we'll do something. So that was the start of what you know today as IKON. But if you would ask me, what did I do to get to where I am today, if at all, if that is a place of recognition, I would say consistently doing what you love. So as a kid, very specifically when I was in college, I used to be involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, right? It was I was somewhat a studious student, but still for all, I was involved with a lot of different things, and I loved doing new things, doing things which were completely beyond the classroom. So I think that kid in me still lives and always wanted to try out new things, new projects, new problems to solve, new solutions to be given. So I think that's what kept me going. That's what got me, or rather gets me, to wake up every day in the morning and to consistently do this over a period of time. Now, if you actually put a number behind it, I've been doing this closer for about 9 years. And that consistency is what propels that growth in my humble opinion.
Okay, now let's talk about IKON. You're a digital production house based in Dubai, Australia and Sri Lanka. And you all have worked with companies such as Unilever and Kiehl's. What's the story behind IKON, and how did you bring that company to this level?
So like I mentioned earlier, right? The actual start of IKON, to be very honest, was very accidental, right? It's not that we had a really good business plan, not that we did a comprehensive competitive analysis. No, we just went right into it, and it was just accidental. But from 2015 to 2017, we actually took it slow, right? We had at the most about 4 clients for that entire 2-year period. Those were very small clients comparative to the ones that we handle as of right now. So that 2 years, we actually took the time. When I say we, I'm talking about a collective team of friends, just like, you guys, like, just like you guys are doing this whole project and interview/podcast series, right? It was just like 6 young boys and girls who we met while we were studying CIMA, like I mentioned. All of them were doing CIMA at the time. They came from different backgrounds, so we were not marketers, and we learned it. We learned the technicalities. Right now, I think we are very fortunate. We come from a very fortunate generation. You have a lot of online material which is accessible free. So for 2 years, we learned. And some of the names you mentioned, like Unilever, which is one of Sri Lanka's largest multinational corporations. We landed the corporate account in 2017. Technically, Unilever was our 4th or 5th client, if I'm not much mistaken, right? So if you'd ask me what's the driving point behind IKON, was the team behind IKON. Just not me. It could be the face of the company, but the team behind IKON was the root cause of the success. Because all of us at that point, even right now, even up until this very point, we're very focused and we look for opportunities. And when an opportunity presents itself, we'll go for it no matter how hard we think it is. And we will learn on the go. I think that's something very important, right? So a lot of people would say, you learn first, and why don't you then just go for it? But the world is changing at such a pace that you might not necessarily always be able to be 100% competent in what you do before you do it. But you're definitely sure as hell could turn out to be competent while you're at it, if you give your 110% to whatever that you do, big or small. So right now, we're very fortunate to be working with the people that we work with. We're very fortunate to be working with the team that we are working with. We're very fortunate for the clientele who has placed their trust in us. Because I always say a brand is like a baby. Like you give out your baby to somebody else to take care of the baby. So there's a lot of trust that is involved in this component. So we're very glad, both our local as well as international clientele, for the amount of trust that they have placed on us. So the growth of IKON, we had a bit of a inorganic growth in about 2019 and 2020 with a few acquisitions that we did. Currently, it's a group of companies. We have 2 fully owned subsidiaries with us. And like you said, we have presence in 3 different countries. Our campaigns run across 21 different active markets. So the scalability has been, again, due to that sort of contribution that has come through from the team. A single person cannot do this. It's impossible. But together, as a group, it's very important. When that group works together, you can achieve the impossible. So I think that's the story behind IKON.
Just like how they say, alone you can achieve so little, but together you can achieve so much.
110%. I think that's applicable to any and everybody, right? For an example, like, when you look at you guys, right? You couldn't have done this podcast/interview with me by yourself. But together as a team, you can achieve this. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is working together as a team in itself is a skill. It's very hard to manage a team. You got to manage a team for you to understand. Probably your president might be able to tell you better. It's a serious task to manage a team, right? And not a lot of people can do that. So I think my role or my contribution to the success of IKON, if at all one defines it as success, I think we have a long way to go. My role is to keep together that team. So there's a lot of other people who bring in a lot of expertise into the table, right? It's simply not me. Some projects you take and you'd ask me, what did you do in this project? I've not done anything in the project. But I've held together the team who has executed the project, who brings their own self of expertise. Now, this reality is there in any different scale. So if you look at this, right, you're the person who is putting that face into the interview and you're asking the questions. There's somebody else who is looking after the videography, the cameras and all of that. Somebody else puts together. Somebody else will coordinate me. So there's a lot of different roles to play. Individually, these roles will be meaningless, but put together, these roles will contribute to forming something really amazing.
Right. Now, school plays an important role in shaping us into the individuals we become later in life. How would you say school molded you into the person you are today?
Interesting question, and I think college definitely played a huge role. But now my answer may turn out to be a little unorthodox, right? So I was a full-on Josephian, grade 1 onwards. I am a second generation Josephian. Now, how do I say this without making it sound wrong? So I was a very studious kid, right? If you ask the teachers at college, they'll probably attest to this. I was a studious kid, but I was a very naughty kid. Very, very, very naughty. Very specifically in middle school and upper school, if you'd ask the teachers who taught me, I think many of them are still there in college. They'll know that I was really a troublesome kid, But also, being naughty is in the genes of us, right? Like all of us are. So we had a huge amount of respect to our teachers and college. And also, I was one of the main allegations against me when I was schooling was that I was not in class. Like I was so not in class, right? But I used to get my work done. I used to do the studies, copy the notes or whatever it is, but I was not in class. If you'd ask me which part of my journey inside college contributed the most, apart from all the A's that I would have got during the exams, I'm sure, and I would really say this, the amount of activities that I was involved at St. Joseph's was the stepping stone of my career today. Right now, when I go out, like I said, I completed 4 years at oratory. I got my engineering degree. I don't necessarily work as an engineer as of right now, but I have that background, right? But right now, nobody would ask me the anatomy of a body, and nobody would ask me the grammar of Sinhalese or English or whatever, But what really comes in handy was I was a member and at subsequently the leader of the college debating team. The linguistic skills that I got there contributes immensely to the career that I have right now. The opportunities I got at college, at Bonginol and at Sports Complex to compare countless number of events, right? I used to be a guy, I was from the science faculty, I used to compare the Commerce Day, right? So I was involved with a lot of different things. The opportunities I got on that stage now helps me to come here, talk with people like you, go to a boardroom and make a presentation, irrespective of who's there. I've presented to some of the biggest CEOs and chairmen of blue chip companies in Sri Lanka and abroad. I don't have the stage fright because my stage fright was taken away in grade 7 in front of the Bonginol. So when you ask me, how did the college help you? Yes, college gave me a fantastic education. And I think that is very important. I'm not saying education is not important. I'm a person who comes from a very, very intensive academic background, right? So education is very important. But it is also important when you have the fortunity in life to be a Josephian, and a very, very, very few people have it, right? You might not understand the importance of it right now. You'll definitely understand the importance of it once you go out. But when you do have that luck, and when you're fortunate enough to have that opportunity, I think you need to make the most out of it. And definitely not stick yourself to a classroom and just stay there. You've got to get involved with the various amount of projects, opportunities, events that the college has to offer, sports, if at all, if you're a sportsman, to get involved in these things, because these things teach you many different skills, which may not be necessarily reflected in your report card, but will definitely get reflected in your real life once it begins after school. So I think that played a huge role in my life as a debater, my life as a public speaker, my life as a compeer, my life as a person who's involved in multiple different societies. I was to be in the executive committees, the boards, and so on and so forth, chairing certain events and all of that. That exposure, that experience really takes you a long, long way. And I think it's very important that you get that exposure.
Right. Now, Interact is a movement which offers first-hand experience in the society and the corporate world. How would you say a movement like Interact helps youngsters to become successful entrepreneurs?
Okay, great. So I think I'm going to loop this again back into the answer that I gave earlier, right? What's my role at IKON or any of the other entities that I'm necessarily involved with, right? So if you look at it, the actual role of an entrepreneur is to envision what usually people would not envision. Think of and manipulate and create something which is a concept in your heart initially to be a reality. So this takes a lot of work. This takes putting together a team, looping in a lot of different individuals, and ensuring that each individual plays their part in creating this reality. For me, that's the simple role of an entrepreneur, right? So to answer your question, let me take this as an example, right? So you have Jason, you have Robin, you have Nirvana, you have you. So 4 of you together is doing a project. So this is a mini project, right? The same version of this in a scaled up level is something that we do, probably which you'll do in like 1-2 years time, right? Now to make this a reality, look at the exposure and experience you'll get. You'll need to speak to the resource personnel, confirm a date and time that is applicable to them. You need to speak to the location, get somebody to, put in a favor for you, get the location sorted, get the productions sets done, write a script, look at it and try to understand, is this what we want? And then there's obviously some more work to be done post-productions, right? So this as a whole is a nice little project that you guys are doing. The only difference is you're not necessarily getting paid to do this. So as a movement in Interact, once you get this exposure and once you go out, the only aspect that you need to kind of stretch out is, how do I commercialize this? Now you already know you're one step ahead than all the other kids. Why? Because you've got this exposure, you've got this experience of creating something. You've been in the creation phase, you've been in the ideology phase, you know how to put something into a reality. Because this right now, before the 4 of you and the team who's behind you would have got together, was just a concept in somebody's head, right? Somebody in an Interact meeting would have suggested, why don't we do a interview session with some old user fields, see what they have to say about life and whatever that we're going to talk about, right? So this was an idea in somebody's head. Together, you made it a reality. Now, you'd be surprised to understand that not a lot of people can actually do this. It's a process. So this is, in a way, college or Interact as a movement, teaching you how to make this a reality. This skill set you're developing now while you're inside college puts you miles ahead of the other kids who'll come with straight A's, but they can't execute anything. They can't create a concept into a reality. They convert a concept into a reality. That skill is immensely valued in the world of corporates, right? So when you get out of college, you just got to learn only one thing. You had a concept, now you created it, right? How do you commercialize the product that you created, right? And that's just very simple. You learn this, you have the complete process of becoming an entrepreneur. So you're like 75% done when you're coming out of college. Hence why I always reiterate, and hence why I always say, being involved in movements as this puts you really ahead of the rest of the kids, because you've already done 75% of what you need to know by the time that you come out of college. It gives you the opportunity to interact with others, with other schools, people that you may not have known, collaborate with each other, and do really, really amazing things, which is really going to put you ahead of the lot.
What would you say are some of the most important lessons that you have learned in your academic and entrepreneurial life?
Okay, so I'm going to slightly revert that question and divide it to the process of achieving a certain academic skill set and a process of achieving a certain entrepreneurial skill set, right? I would say both of it matters. I'm sure you would have seen all of these internet whiz kids and these, Silicon Valley billionaires would say, oh, drop out of college. I dropped out of college and I did this and all of that. Number one, they're dropping out of Harvard, they're dropping out of MIT. So unless otherwise you're dropping out of Harvard and MIT, it's not the same case. Okay? So let's not go there. I think it's very important that you have a combination of both. Yes, I have lived most of my life as an entrepreneur, which is really fantastic. It's a fantastic journey to be at, right? But a bit of academics will also help you. A solidified academic background will always give you that edge, and it's very important that you have that. So let's get that straight. Before I ventured into, or rather simultaneously while I was being an entrepreneur, I definitely concentrated a lot in my academics. I did my bachelor's, I did my master's, I had a bunch of different other professional qualifications. That really gives you the background. So the way that I like to say it, the biggest lesson that my academic life taught me was about how to cope up the pressure, because exams gives a lot of pressure to kids, right? College exams, term tests, then you have O-levels, then you have A-levels, then you have university. It doesn't stop. So what is important is you need to understand how to manage your workload and how to manage your pressure. I used to always tell myself when I was in university, what's the worst thing? This is not applicable for you when you're in college still. But when you get to university, what's the worst that could happen to you? You'll fail the exam and you'll repeat it. It's not the end of the world, right? So learn to live with that pressure. Managing that workload and managing that pressure is the most important thing, in my opinion, that academic life would teach you. It's not the science, it's not the technicalities, nothing. But for me, managing that workload, managing that pressure is exactly what university life, or rather academic life, is taught. And once you get those credentials will open doors for you. It will not do anything else. It will open the doors for you. And once you're in, to perform, to manage, and to reap the benefits is all the entrepreneurial skills, the soft skills, the skills that goes beyond academics, the skills that movements like Interact teaches you while you're in college. So that's where I would necessarily differ the line. So the latter part of it, which is the entrepreneurial skill set, my life as an entrepreneur has necessarily taught me the one big important thing is the more you fail, the more you try, right? So a lot of people speak about IKON, a lot of people speak about the attributed success that you would say that it is having as of right now. But what you don't see is behind all of that successful stories as countless number of times that we have miserably failed. Countless number of times that our clients have given us second chances, at least way back in the day, right? Countless number of experiences and exposures where it has necessarily told us you're not the best in the game, you're not even remotely close. Failures of that sort has given us that sort of opportunity to identify we have flaws, we're not perfect, so we got to improve ourselves and then kind of take it forward from there. So those two important lessons strike a really good balance in life. And I think that balance is very important. Extremes of either of these two will not take you anywhere.
Right. So what's your advice to present teenagers and young adults looking to become entrepreneurs?
Okay. So for me, entrepreneurs are not just individuals who would just start their business, right? That's the general understanding. I think entrepreneurship is a way of life, right? It's about your ability to dream, and not just dream, because every one of us dreams, right? But only entrepreneurs make dreams a reality. So anybody who can make that dream a reality, for me, is an entrepreneur in itself. So it's not for everyone, certainly. It's not cut for, it's a certain way of life which is hard, which has a lot of work that is put into it, right? It's very glorified, right? It's very glorified. It looks really glamorous, but behind the scenes, you actually, day in, day out, you put in a lot of work. Right now, for an example, I think that reflects in everybody. Like, look at you guys. Same age, same classes, rest of the kids rather, would be spending their Sunday at home, probably sleeping. The weather is really good, right? It's made for it. But you guys are here at 8 o'clock in the morning shooting this. That's your commitment to making your dream a reality. Like I said, somebody spoke about this podcast, somebody spoke about this interview series, and you said, okay, you know what, let's do it. So you're not just dreaming, you're putting in a lot of hard work to make it a reality. So probably even after this, you're not probably going to go home. You have a lot of other things to do, like post-production, all this and that and the other. That's a lot of hard work. And when you keep doing this every week, I mean, that's just consistent work being put into the place. So no wonder that at some point you'll hit success, right? So what I always say is to anyone young, catch your dream, catch your passion. You might not, I mean, I was lucky enough to understand and kind of embrace it at the first go. You might not. The first thing that you start could be a complete failure. That's all right. You do the second. The second will be a failure. That's all right. Go for the third. The third will be a failure. At least the 10th will be a success. I can give you 101 different so-called populous cases of life where, the first invention, the first thing that they did, the first business that they did was not a success. And probably sometime down the line, the consistent amount of work that they've necessarily put in, day out, gave them that sort of big break that they're looking for. So my simple advice is, choose something that makes you happy. If what makes you happy is waking up in the morning and doing some work, doing whatever that you define as work, do it. That's fine. But don't be a person who will just say, oh, you know what, I have to go to office today. Because why? I have to go to office today. I want to survive. I have a salary and I have a 9 to 5. So I've got to be at office by 9 o'clock. I can't wait to watch the clock striking 5 o'clock so that I can get out. Like, that's a miserable life. Don't live that. Right? You don't have to impress anybody by wearing a nice shirt and going to a blue collar job that you hate, or rather a white collar job that you hate. You don't have to do that. I know guys who graduated in engineering working as photographers right now. They make enough to make them happy. It's not about, you always will drive a different car, you live in a different sized house comparative to your friends, that's okay. There'll come a time very soon that you'll understand that life is all about being happy. So what is it that makes you happy? Is it cutting hair? Is it being a gardener or a landscaper? Is it being a hotelier? Is it being a marketer? Is it being a storyteller? Is it being an Instagram influencer? Right? Is it doing community service? Please, by all means. Gone are the days that you have to either become a doctor, engineer, accountant, lawyer. Gone are those days. Right? Nobody defines you by that. People will define you by the legacy that you keep. In any industry, there are individuals who have gone above and beyond to be absolutely successful. So you can be that person as long as you love what you do. As long as you wake up every day in the morning. Just ask yourself, when you choose something, can I wake up every day in the morning by myself and still have that drive and that enthusiasm to do this? And when you find that sweet spot, go for it. Don't think about anything else. Go for it. You may not know the 4th and the 5th and the 6th steps, but you sure as hell would know the first step. So take that first step and go for it. Pursue that dream and keep going for that dream. Lastly, an entrepreneur is like a person who's driving a train through a tunnel. Right? Only the driver of the train sees the light at the end of the tunnel. All the passengers of the train, and until the train gets out of the tunnel, all the passengers of the train sees only the darkness, pitch dark. It's the driver who sees the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you are willing to be the driver of the train and take them through the phase of being inside a dark tunnel, because there will be a phase that you'll be inside a dark tunnel until you can see light. If you can be that person, take that chance and go for it. And you will know at some point in life, it could be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, life will reward you for that one step that you do. That's my simple advice.
And that brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you, Aya, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes. Favorite memory in school?
Favorite memory in school? Okay, so like I said, I was a bit of a naughty kid. Not bit. Naughty. And I have a lot of different memories in college, right? Some of which cannot be said in this podcast. But I think a nice memory of us was with Father Sylvester Ranasinghe, who was our former rector. So this was 11S3, I can still recall, the class that was just, adjacent to the staircases, right? Fourth period, just about 10:15, 10:20, we were having a push-ups contest. Me and another friend of mine by the name of Drewy. So inside the class, we kept the desks to be at a side. In the middle, we were having a push-ups contest. So the two of us were having a going at it. So we can obviously see what's going on around us. There's a ring of students around us. Little did we know that Father, who was making the rounds at the time, at about 10:20, he has also come and nicely, quietly joined the students who were cheering very loud, were cheering for the two of us who were going at it, saying 45, 46, 47. And about 2-3 minutes later, everyone else who was in the ring kind of figured out that Father Rector, he's also standing. And all what we knew, because obviously we can't see what's happening, we knew that somebody has come. And then we looked up and it was Father Rector. So obviously it was quite scary and we knew that we were just about to get punished. But for some other reason, Father didn't punish us. And the punishment that he gave was just as this happened, the interval bell rang. So it was 10:25, interval bell rang. Now everybody's coming out of the classes, the rest of the students, the teachers, everybody's coming out of the classes. So Father said, okay, you know what? Two of you, why don't you get onto the road, the adjacent road, and said, have your push-ups contest on the road. So this is like out in the open, everybody's there, everybody's watching. And then, the two of us were just going at it. In fact, Father Rector was laughing and all of that. So that was a fun memory. The rest of it, I've had a lot of memories. Memories where our entire class has got punished, put onto this thing and all that. But looking back at those right now, I can't get into the details, obviously. But looking back at it right now, I think those are the most fondest memories in college.
What's your worst memory in school?
Can't say that. If I say that, you won't have me back on any interview or podcast.
Which teacher punished you the most?
I have a list, if at all. Mind you, all of these teachers, we really love them, and even today when I go to college, they really embrace me still with a lot of love, right? But if you actually look at it, if you name it, any sectional head from grade 6 up and onwards would fall into this list, right? But I think if you factually figure it out, I think Mrs. Sinhala Perera should top the list, if I'm not much mistaken. But Nimala teacher was one of the most amazing teachers that I've ever found in college. I think entire 46 odd amount of years of her career, she has taught my father, she has taught me. And if you ask anybody, I'm sure that the sentiments will be the same. Obviously, she was one of the most people who would have punished me very nicely, very gently, very kindly, not in a bad way. But also, I'm sure that I top her list as one of her favorite students. So that kind of tallies the scale, and that is applicable for almost all the teachers who would have punished.
You mentioned that you're a massive Harry Potter fan. What's your Harry Potter house?
Oh, yeah. Massive Potterhead. Read all 7 books and that kind of thingy. House is, of course, Gryffindor. Through and through. I'm imagining that one day I'll find the sword, but yeah.
Just to give me some skrilla. Remember I was really on the block like Tetris. Just to give me some chip. Surfing, rocking the parking lot, my weed louder than like the game.